What happens if you own the entire Formula One ecosystem? In 2017, a quiet American media company bought what looked like a struggling racing series. $8 billion. Most people thought they'd overpaid. 8 years later, that same asset is worth $26 billion. But here's what nobody talks about. The real money was never in the cars. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you'll understand why Formula One may be the most perfectly engineered money machine ever built, and why it was deliberately designed so you can never truly own it. Layer 1, the sport itself. Before the first corner of the 2017 season, Liberty Media wired $8 billion and became the most powerful entity in motorsport. What did they actually buy? Not the cars, not the teams, not the tracks. They bought something far more valuable: the right to control everything, TV deals across 180 countries, race hosting fees from 24 nations, sponsorships from Rolex, Aramco, DHL, and a fan base of 750 million people who watch every single race. In 2024 alone, those three rivers generated $3.65 billion in revenue. That's $10 million flowing in every single day, $416,000 an hour, $7,000 a minute, while the cars are racing and while they're not. That's layer 1. You own the sport. You print money. But you don't own the teams. That's where it gets complicated. Layer 2. The teams. And the wall. Wait. Here's the first thing that should surprise you. The 10 teams on the grid are not owned by Formula One. They're separate businesses. Private companies. Some owned by billionaires, some by car manufacturers, some by sovereign wealth funds. And they have become extraordinarily valuable. Ferrari, $6.4 billion. Mercedes, $5.88 billion. McLaren, $4.73 billion. Red Bull, $4.32 billion. Combined, all 10 teams are worth over $34 billion, up 48% in a single year. So to own the whole sport, you'd need to buy the commercial rights, $26 billion, and then go and separately acquire every team. That's another $34 billion. You're now past $60 billion before a single engine has started. But owning them isn't enough. You have to run them. And running an F1 team costs $135 million per season, at minimum. That's the cost cap. 10 teams. That's $1.3 billion a year just to keep the lights on. And driver salaries? Those sit entirely outside the cap. Max Verstappen reportedly earns $65 million a year. Lewis Hamilton signed for $50 million annually at Ferrari. The drivers are not in the budget. They are the budget. Here's where it flips though. The 10 teams collectively generated $4.5 billion in their own revenue in 2024. Sponsorships, partnerships, merchandise, hospitality. If you own all 10, that $4.5 billion flows back to you. Suddenly owning the teams looks like genius. So you keep going. Layer 3. The circuits and the first impossible wall. Here's the moment most people don't expect. F1 doesn't own most of the tracks it races on. The circuits pay Formula One for the privilege of hosting a Grand Prix. Middle Eastern nations like Saudi Arabia and Abu Dhabi write checks in the $50 to $60 million range per race. European classics like Silverstone and Monza pay closer to $20 to $30 million. Malaysia once calculated what hosting a single Grand Prix would cost them: $71 million a year. Over a mandatory 5-year deal, that's $355 million. They walked away. So you'd think, if I own the circuits, I stop paying hosting fees to myself and pocket the difference, right? Except some of those circuits are owned by national governments. Others are embedded in city infrastructure that took decades to build. They are not for sale at any price. This is the first true wall. You've spent $60 billion. You control the sport and every team, and there are 24 circuits you simply cannot buy. Layer 4, the part nobody is watching. This is the wait, what? Moment. Most people think Formula One is a racing series. It isn't. Not anymore. The 2023 Las Vegas Grand Prix was the signal. F1 didn't just race in Vegas. F1 ran Vegas. They owned the event. They kept the gate revenue. They ran the hospitality. They controlled the broadcast deal. No middleman. Pure margin. That's the model now. Formula One as its own promoter. No sharing, no fees paid out. Every dollar stays inside the machine. On top of that, F1 TV subscriptions are growing. Esports, virtual racing, saw a 30% jump in participation in 2024. Merchandise, gaming, digital experiences. This isn't a sport hedging its bets on new revenue. This is a media company using racing as the content. Think about what Netflix did to Hollywood. F1 is doing that to motorsport. The Drive to Survive documentary didn't just bring new fans, it created a completely different demographic of viewer. Younger, global, more female than any racing series had ever reached. And that new audience unlocked a new tier of sponsorship dollars. Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway noticed. He now holds $630 million in Liberty Media's F1 business. Buffett doesn't buy racing, he buys compounding economics. The full bill. Let's be honest about the numbers. Commercial rights, $26 billion. All 10 teams, $34 billion. Strategic circuits, even just Silverstone, Monza, Suzuka, Las Vegas, several billion more. Total outlay, somewhere north of $65 billion. Annual return, F1 revenue hit $3.87 billion in 2025. Operating income, $632 million. Add the team's combined $4.5 billion in revenue, and your ecosystem generates over $8 billion a year. Net profit, once you account for costs, somewhere between $1 and $2 billion annually. Payback period on $65 billion at those margins, 35 to 40 years. That sounds terrible, until you remember what Liberty Media paid in 2017 and what it's worth today. $8 billion became $26 billion in 8 years. If that appreciation even half continues, you're not playing a dividend game. You're engineering generational wealth through an asset that gets more valuable every time a new nation decides it needs an F1 race. The paradox. And here's the thing that should genuinely unsettle you. Formula One was not accidentally difficult to consolidate. It was deliberately designed that way. The Concord Agreement, the foundational legal document that governs the sport, gives the teams voting rights over major changes. Even if you owned all 10 teams and the commercial rights, you'd still need consensus to alter the sport fundamentally. The teams would be voting against themselves, but they have independent legal rights that cannot simply be bought away. You think F1 is about racing. It's not. It's about who collects the toll. Formula One generated $3.65 billion in 2024. The teams, the circuits, the broadcasters, they all pay into the same machine. And whoever holds the commercial rights sits in the middle, collecting from every direction. Own a team? You're probably losing money. Own the circuits? You paid $55 million just to host the race. Own the rights to the whole sport? You're the house. And in Formula One, just like everywhere else, the house always wins. Subscribe. New video every week.